When I was a kid, I was terrified to go in the barn in the back of my house. It was like an old Victorian house. I think it was built in like 1903 or something. Um, it had this barn in the back, and there was a rumor in town that some guy got shot in there. Some burglar thief guy got shot by the cops. I never found anything about that being true, and I'm not even sure. That's not even why I was scared to go out there. I was scared to go out there because my father was a antique collector. It was like this weird thing he did. He was kind of like a grifter or whatever. He was like a what do you call it? Like a hustler, right? He was like a hustler. Mm-hmm. He did like all these odd jobs, and one of them was antiques. He went antiquing all the time, and he had this old photo that was on the left side of the barn. So it was an old barn, and you'd slide the door. It had like a hinge at the top, a lock, and you'd lift the lock. It was like one that you lift, so you lift it off like a piece of metal. So you lift that, and then you slide it, and there's a hinge at the top of the door. So I would go in there and open that door, unhinge it or unlock it, and slide the hinge. And then to the left, there was this antique he had of this priest. It was like I would guess it was from 1880, 1890. It was kind of like in one of those oval, circular, you know what I mean? Those portraits that are like oval and circular. So he had a widow's peak like Eddie Munster, but he was like 20s or 30s, 40s. I don't even remember. He was like somewhere in probably 30s. And he was a priest, and he had like the white little collar on his black, outfit. And he looked evil. Like the face on this guy, it was just kind of like, he kind of had a longish face that was kind of ovalish. Not super long, but on the longer side of the face, and then a little bit ovalish, and then he had like a widow's peak, and his eyes just looked evil to me as a kid, and I just hated going in the barn, because every time I'd unhinge that door and look to the left, I had to see him. And then one day my dad said, "Go out and get the mower for me, the lawn mower. I need to mow the lawn." And I said, "No, I don't want to go out to that garage, no." And he said, "Oh, Junior, just go get it." He called me Junior because he was senior. He had the same name. I just said, okay. And I walked out there super slowly, like not wanting to go in. So I get to the door, I unhinge it, I slide it. I look to the left, I see that freaking priest. I see the lawnmower across the garage. And I start to go, the garage, it must be 15 feet. I start to walk in there. And I got like halfway across, and the hair on my neck stood up. And I looked to the left at that freaking priest, and he was like staring at me. And then the door closed. The door slid closed behind me. So I tried to pull it open and couldn't. So I had to like push it forward. I couldn't slide it on the hinge, so I pushed the bottom of the door, which had like a sway to it. You could like get under it if you pushed it forward. I pushed it forward and slid under the door to get out. And when I told my family all this, they said, well, I came running in and I said to my dad what happened, and I was yelling he did it, and he didn't know what the hell was going on. He was watching like Three's Company in his chair. Clearly he wasn't outside at any point. He was just like chilling in his chair. My siblings, I couldn't find them anywhere in the house. But when I told them, and I talked about them to this day with them, I talk about this and they swear they didn't do it. And when I told them when I did find them, they had no clue. And I think they were being honest. They were jokers, but if they pulled a joke, they wouldn't just never tell you. They would bust your balls and tell you like later on, yeah.
Definitely not 20 years later.
Yeah, they wouldn't wait. Yeah. So they said nothing. So I got a Charlie horse. Oh, fuck. Ow. Ow. Oh. So, ow.
Oh no.
Oh God. Oh God, this is awful. It's right in my hamstring.
Oh no.
So, so the point is, oh, so, so the point. I do have a point. The point is this. Listen to what this guy says.
In the universe. Well, that tells us that really we are 1 billionth leftover of a much larger amount of stuff that was there at the beginning. But we don't know how this billionth survived. It shouldn't be there by rights. It should have all been wiped out and we shouldn't be here. So that's two big problems. That there's the fact we don't know 95% of the universe is, and also the theory tells us the universe shouldn't exist. So two big problems. I'll come up to a third one. This is one that's probably
Okay, the universe should not even exist. So you know what happened? I tell people my story of what happened in the barn, and they have every reason why it's not what I said. The wind must have blown. Your brother and sister did it. Hello? The entire universe should not even exist, and you're going to argue about a door sliding? Come on! So when people say they see a ghost, and when people say this happened, you know, quantum says that it will. Quantum says we could walk through a wall. It just says the timeline has to be really long for it to happen. But eventually you'll walk through a wall. Eventually a door will randomly slide shut. This stuff is going to happen. So when someone says they saw a ghost, I used to be skeptical of them. Like, why don't cameras ever catch them? And why don't... Well, double slit says you kind of need an observer to see something. Maybe a camera doesn't count. So there's that. But whatever. When people say something happened and it seems unbelievable, you know what? Quantum says it is inevitable. When that door slid, I don't know what happened. I know the hair on my neck was standing right before it slid. And I know I was terrified. And part of me wonders if, like, the energy, the fear energy I was giving off somehow made that reality happen. Sometimes I wonder if that happened. If fear, if there's an aura around us that maybe has energy we don't understand that can move things. Maybe that's possible. If not, you know what? Quantum says it's just going to slide shut one day anyway. I mean, the universe came to be in a vacuum out of nothing. So why would someone argue with a door sliding shut when the entire universe was made by that same process? So that's all I wanted to say about that.